Hi Leo, and welcome to your June 2024 horoscope. June should feel a lot more calm than April and May did. Honestly, April and May, we had eclipse season, we had Jupiter entering Gemini, Pluto going retrograde. So that was a lot for sure. Whereas in May, we have Mars entering Taurus, which should help calm down some of our action and drive and motivation. And we have the Sun and Venus entering Cancer, which should also help bring a little bit more of the introspective, emotional side of ourselves. So hopefully you're excited for this shift in energy. The first transit that occurs in the month of June is Jupiter trining Pluto. If you remember, in May, Jupiter entered the sign of Gemini, which is your 11th house. And in case you didn't catch it, I did a live where I went through all of the 12 zodiac signs and what they can expect with this year-long transit. So in case you didn't catch it, I'll leave it up here for you so that you can have a watch as well. But for the purpose of June and for the purpose of the trine between Jupiter and Pluto, let's have a little bit of a chat as to what the interaction between these two planets actually means. Pluto is about our fears. Pluto is about the deepest parts of ourselves that we don't want to face because they are scary and not so pleasant. And when we see these two planets interact with each other, I really see this transit as the idea that sometimes we fear our own success the most. Sometimes the thing we're afraid of is not failing, but we're afraid of achieving our wildest dreams. We're afraid of reaching and really seeing what power we truly hold within our own hands. And it can be scary to really find your purpose and to pursue it and to go after it. It can bring up a lot of heavy and scary emotions, honestly. Also, Pluto is the planet of letting things go. It's the planet of death. So I do want to highlight as well that sometimes in order for us to reap the benefits that Jupiter has in store, we need to let certain things go. We need to let go of some things that are maybe safe and comfortable, but are not working for us anymore in order to really reap these benefits that Jupiter has in store for you. And for you specifically, Leo, there is something that you need to let go of in terms of how you relate with others, how you function in a relationship, any fears that you have around what it means to be in a relationship with another person, in order to really achieve your true direction in life, your true purpose, in order to be able to let those around you influence your direction in life, in order to be able to really be open to hear from others and take their opinions and be able to really let them, I don't want to say influence the direction of your life, but to make a mark on the direction of your life. Next up, let's talk about the Sun and Venus. They are moving fast during the month of June. And they, because of that, are in conversation with a lot of different planets. They're in conversation with Saturn and with Neptune. So there's definitely a lot happening there. First, though, on June 3rd, Venus and the Sun sextile the North Node. The North Node in Aries is asking all of us collectively to be courageous and to do the things that scare us. And specifically for you, Leo, because the Sun and Venus are in your 11th house, sextiling the North Node, they are asking you to be courageous with your goals, be courageous with how you open up to the influence that your network can have on you. Be courageous and reach out to that new community of people, even though it scares you. Even though you don't know them yet, you don't know how they're going to receive you. because they can really have a huge impact and a huge influence to really help you get to where you want to go. And if you needed any incentive, here it is. Just a day later, the Sun and Venus will be conjunct in your 11th house. So on June 4th, I really see this day as, if you were courageous, if you did allow yourself to reach out to that network that perhaps scares you, that on the 4th you might really find that you're reaping the benefits, that you might really feel like you have such a clear purpose and direction in your life, and your future is again, very clear, very straightforward, and it just makes sense. And this 11th house is going to continue being highlighted for you, Leo. This is because 2 days later, on June 6th, we have a new moon in Gemini in your 11th house. One thing to note about this new moon is that the Sun and Venus are getting closer to a square to Saturn. The square is not exact during the new moon, but it is very, very close. So still during this new moon, you might feel some of that restrictive energy from Saturn. It might feel like you want to start something new. There's a new goal that you're ready to pursue. There's a new sort of a next step that you want to take to get yourself in your life to where you want to go. But you cannot just quite yet because of that square with Saturn. My piece of advice always when talking about Saturn is not to get discouraged. I know it's easier said than done, believe me. I'm going through a Saturn return right now. But I always say that you can still get to your end goal. You might just have to take a different approach. You might have to take a different path to get there. And as I said, the conjunction with Saturn is not exactly during the new moon. It's happening later. On June 8th, Venus will be square Saturn. And then on June 9th, the Sun will be square Saturn. And what's really interesting about June 9th is that on that same day, we have Mars entering the sign of Taurus, which is your 10th house. Mars entering the sign of Taurus, it will feel like some of your motivations, your actions are a little bit slowed down, a little bit more calm, a little bit more oriented around rest and peace and luxury and just enjoying day-to-day life. However, it is still in an angular house for you, and it's entering your 10th house as well. So it might be also for you, Leo, it might not be as sort of calming as perhaps it is for the other zodiac signs, because it is in a career house. So you might also find that a lot of your focus and energy and motivation, action is focused on your career. So a lot of your energy is going there. And just as Mars enters your 10th house, enters the sign of Taurus, it also squares Pluto. And this is happening on June 11th. This can be one of the more tense aspects during June. And this is also especially so, wow, my English, this is especially so true for you, Leo, because this is happening in your angular houses. This is happening in your 7th and your 10th house, Pluto in your 7th, Mars in your 10th. Whatever fears you have around trusting, whatever fears you have around being close and intimate with other humans, relying on other humans, will be especially apparent during this time. And it might be something happening in your career that is highlighting these fears. Maybe there is something happening at your place of work that really requires you to be honest and vulnerable with a colleague, and that makes you realize that actually you're quite afraid, that actually you've never done this, that actually there's some deeper part of you that feels really, really uncomfortable with doing so. Now that we've talked about Pluto, let's get back to the easy stuff. Let's get back to Venus and the Sun, because they definitely have quite a few transits still to go. On June 16th, Venus will square Neptune. It has traveled through all of Gemini. It's at the last degree of Gemini, ready to enter Cancer at any moment. And as it does that, it squares Neptune. The Sun, remember, is literally right on the tail of Venus. So a couple of days later, on the 20th, the Sun also squares Neptune from literally the same spot that Venus did just a couple of days before. So both of these days, the 17th and the 20th, you will be asked to take a look at any delusions you have surrounding your career and the way that the role that you play in today's society. There might be some places or some things that you're not looking at in a realistic way, that you might be sort of wearing your rose-colored glasses on. And these couple of days will really make it apparent for you where you're being unrealistic and where you need to sort of face reality again. After they each do the square to Neptune, both Venus and the Sun enter the sign of Cancer, or your 12th house. So on the 17th, Venus enters Cancer, and on the 21st, the Sun also enters Cancer. So for you, you might find your energy later in the month of June shifting to a more internal, reflective type of space. You might be spending a lot more time in meditation or a lot of alone time, and more focused on connecting to a sense of reality beyond just what you see here and now. And that could literally look like any spiritual practices that you have in place for yourself. But it could also look like just having a deeper sense of compassion for the rest of the world and the rest of humanity as well. And this 12th house will continue to be highlighted for you, especially on June 22nd, when there is a full moon in Capricorn. So the moon will be in Capricorn in your 6th house, while the sun is in your 12th house. Further highlighting this aspect of day-to-day, very physical, very material-oriented realities versus the opposite, versus letting go of these things, getting in touch with something beyond. And because we're talking about a full moon, we're talking about a new piece of information that becomes more clear to us, that we haven't really realized before, we haven't seen it before. And specifically for you, there might be something surrounding your routine that's making it apparent to you how you can tap more into your spirituality, how you can cultivate more alone time, how you can be more compassionate for the rest of the world. We're not done talking yet about Venus. She still has 2 more transits to go. On June 22nd, Venus squares the North and the South node. If you remember, at the beginning of the month, on June 3rd, Venus sextiled the North node, and now it's again in conversation with the North and the South node, but this time it's doing it from a different house. For you, it's doing it from the 12th house, whereas earlier in the month, it was in your 11th house. So some of the same themes might come up again around you needing to be courageous and to do scary things. But this time, it's not about being courageous when it comes to your network, connecting with people, but it's more about being courageous with what it means to be spiritual, being courageous with your alone time, even if it scares you, being courageous with compassion and love for everybody, even if that might feel really, really unnatural. Finally, the last Venus transit of June is happening on June 28th when Venus sextiles Mars. And this is actually a really beautiful transit to have with your 12th and 10th house. It's almost as if all of the work you've been putting into cultivating your compassion for humanity, cultivating the spiritual side of you, is making it a lot easier for you to take the right actions surrounding your career. And they're sort of, they're helping each other out in some way towards the end of the month. You thought it was all over, but it's not. Actually, there is one more very important transit to talk about when it comes to June, Leo. And this is, drum roll please, this is Saturn going retrograde. Saturn has been in the sign of Pisces in your 8th house since March of 2023. And at the end of June, it will go retrograde, and it will stay retrograde until November. So you have quite a few months to reevaluate the maturity that you've had to display when it comes to being vulnerable. How you've had to learn to be an adult and face the scary parts of being close with others. face the scary parts of death, the scary parts of taxes, the scary parts of relying on others and knowing that if something happens, this person has really, really great power to hurt you and hurt you deeply. So you've been dealing with some things in that area with Saturn there for a while now. So the next couple of months, from the end of June until November, you have time to reflect on what you have done in that area, what you have experienced, if you learned anything, and if you want to do something different once Saturn goes direct. So that is what's in store for you, Leo, for the month of June. A lot of focus on direction in life. I really recommend that you get in touch with new people that you might not know and be open to where that could lead you, the connections you could make, because I do think that you might meet some people in June that really help you achieve your goals, help get you to where you want to go. And then obviously towards the second part of the month, please carve out some time to be alone and to nurture yourself and to get in touch with the spiritual side of you a bit more. Thank you so much for joining me, Leo. I hope you're excited for June. Let me know. Are you excited that Jupiter has entered your 11th house? I would love to know in the comments. And one more announcement. I am doing a giveaway. When we reach 1,000 subscribers, I will give one of you lovely people a free reading. So if you want to make sure that you get a chance to win the free reading, then make sure you subscribe. I hope to see you again soon.